Welcome back to my channel. It is Majestically Maya, and today I'm going to show you how I incorporate the search and destroy method to maintain healthy ends in between my usual trims. Before I show you guys how I incorporate the search and destroy method, I think it's important to explain what causes split ends and how to best avoid them. So that's what we're going to do first. What are split ends? Split ends are essentially weak points in your hair that are slowly breaking away and will eventually snap off. They're generally a sign that something's wrong with your hair, that you need to incorporate more trims or to remove some negative hair care practices that are damaging to your hair. What causes split ends? There are a few things that cause split ends, from using heat to manipulation, environment. I briefly mentioned mechanical damage. That can occur during shampooing your hair roughly and rubbing harshly, not using conditioner, contact with chemicals such as the bleach in a swimming pool or other chemicals that don't belong on hair. You can also damage your hair if you use a towel and you rub your hair dry rather than air drying, or rather than using a t-shirt or softer material. You can also be causing split ends by brushing your hair while it's still wet. As mentioned before, using heat tools such as blow dryers, hot combs, or curling irons, and using them frequently and on high heat settings. Additionally, if you're applying long-lasting hair products, for example, gel, remember I said I don't put gel in my hair. That is because manipulating your hair after applying gel is going to encourage breakage. Tight hairstyles such as ponytails, buns, braids, or other updos. They say wearing hair extensions and weaves. I think that can be lumped into the previous bullet point. Coloring your hair, relaxing it, treating it with the professional chemicals, I think that should also be included with the harsh chemicals. Although these chemicals are technically cultivated for hair, they're still harsh to your hair and require high maintenance. Overbrushing your hair. Now, we may not experience that a ton in the natural hair community because we are usually using brushes that are more gentle to the hair, but just keep in mind that using that brush too often can lead to breakage and split ends. Besides the chemical and besides the manual and chemical damage, sometimes it's as simple as your environment. Maybe you're outside all the time and there's some harsh weather, or maybe you have a poor diet and you could just potentially have bad genetics. How to treat split ends? Well, there are a lot of products on the shelf that promise to get rid or minimize your split ends, but unfortunately, as we know, hopefully you guys do know, but if you didn't know, now you know. So once you know better, you do better. You can only cut off the damaged hair. According to WebMD, by trimming your hair, you're able to prevent your hair from splitting further up the strand, which allows you to avoid further damage. So you need to be regularly trimming your hair. I will be due for my next trim, I believe, in June. There are a few ways to avoid split ends. The very first bullet point, I don't believe it applies to a majority of the women in the natural hair community because our hair is different and we don't have to wash it every day. We don't have greasy hair. But avoid washing your hair daily if you are doing so. Be mindful of the brush that you're using for your hair. A lot of people say that you should avoid paddle brushes that have the little balls on the end. I've even incorporated one with the balls on the ends as I'm blow drying my hair. But if your hair does not like it, please don't use it. I avoid using my paddle brush with the little balls on my 4C hair because it tangles around it every single time. But my 4B hair, it just glides through really easily. When you are shampooing your hair, remember that you are shampooing your scalp. And as you rinse your hair, the shampoo is going to travel down the length. You don't have to ball up your hair on top of your head and scrub it like a cartoon character. I was just telling my nephew that the other day. Now, if you are not conditioning your hair, incorporate conditioner into your regimen and be sure that you condition the ends first so that the product can sit and saturate into the ends because they are the oldest part of your hair and that's why they're more prone to damage and breakage, weak points leading to split ends that will travel up the shaft. Now, the second point here on this page is to be careful when towel drying, but as I said before, I don't use a towel, I use a t-shirt. So find a very soft t-shirt and put that on your head rather than using a towel. If you want to use a towel, just be sure to sit it on the hair and let the towel do the work and absorb the water rather than balling all of your hair up and scrubbing it. This next point actually surprised me. It says not to use heat to dry the ends of your hair. And when I thought back on my hair journey, majority of the time that I've been natural, I've not been using heat. And I just recently incorporated blow drying on heat rather than cool. I believe in the last 2 years. I'm not sure if it's been a little longer, but if you've been here for a while, maybe you remember. Anyways, I have been blow drying my hair more recently on the tips, and in the past, I don't believe I did that. So I'm going to now discontinue blow drying the ends of my hair on heat. And finally, they say that you should change how you style your hair. If you're using accessories that tangle your hair, or if you're styling your hair too tight, or if you are incorporating too much heat or chemicals, you're gonna have to change the way that you style your hair, the way that you handle your hair, so that it can be healthy and you can avoid encouraging weak points and split ends that are going to break in the long run. So avoid all of the negative things that encourage your hair to break and split. In addition to everything, as always, be sure to regularly trim your hair. They say every 6 to 8 weeks. For myself, I think I do 3 to 4 months. But in between that, I use the search and destroy method, which I'm going to show you momentarily how I incorporate the search and destroy method to avoid split ends. You're probably wondering now, okay, what's the difference between healthy and split hair? And I got you. So here's an image of a healthy hair strand. It's smooth and the cuticle lies flat. Okay, so on a healthy strand of hair, the cuticle lies flat and it's smooth. On a damaged hair strand, you're going to have pieces of hair that are splitting up the shaft. Sometimes you may see a weak point, you may see a hole, you may see multiple splits on one strand, and because of the many types of potential split ends, I'm going to show you because I was unable to actually zoom in since I recorded the latter portion of this video on my iPad. Here are a couple of ways that your hair can split: long split, the feather split, incomplete, and baby split. Additionally, there's the tree split, triple split, deep split, and double Y. If you have a split like this, remember, there's no treatment that reverses the damage no matter the split that you have. So you're going to have to cut above the split. Cut where the hair is still straight and smooth, and then it should grow out and be healthy. What is the search and destroy method? The search and destroy method is when you evaluate your ends, and once you find a split end, you go ahead and remove it. That's it. And I'm going to show you how I do it. I always start with my 2 sections. I know that in the natural hair community, we always talk about those 4 quadrants, which is cool and all, but we don't have to do that. Separated in 2 ponytails in 2 quadrants, and my ring, this is why you take your ring off, take your jewelry off, so that you don't snag your hair. If I was recording on my usual camera, I could totally like zoom in and everything. I'm just looking for splits and single strand knots, SSKs. I will do this when I'm watching TV. Listening to music, watching TV, just when you have some downtime. Now this hair has a weak point right there, and it's going to snap So I'm just gonna cut that whole thing. You cut above the point of weakness. Sometimes I will work on half of my head and I'll do the other half when I have time. It just depends. And sometimes if I accidentally look higher up in the hair and I see something, I'd rather have different lengths in my hair than to have long hair that's going to be damaged in the long run. I know some of y'all are going to be watching this video and thinking, ain't nobody got time for all that, but it's worth it. Your ends are what's going to allow you to accrue some hair length, right? It's always going to be growing up here, but down here is where we make the length noticeable by retaining what we've already grown. Thank you for watching this video. Bye-bye.